Ever scroll through your feed and just like slam on the brakes because a story grabs you?
Hmm.
That's what we're dealing with today.
Okay.
It's a social media post straight from Nigeria. Kind of reads like a local news thing, but with some serious whiplash.
Oh, really?
Drama, intrigue, a little celebrity gossip, even a murder mystery all in one post.
Wow. And what makes these so interesting, I think, is you get this hyper-local perspective. It's not the polished global news.
Right.
This is raw, unfiltered.
And we're diving right into the deep end because this post starts with a conflict, someone called Very Dark Man, and Don Jazzy. I'm guessing he's a big deal.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
He's a huge music producer, very well known in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So, yeah, his actions are definitely going to be scrutinized.
So set the scene. What's the drama with Very Dark Man and this Don Jazzy character?
Basically, the post is calling out Very Dark Man because he's criticizing a donation that Don Jazzy made, but at the same time, Very Dark Man is, like, benefiting from a similar donation.
Oh, hypocrisy.
Yeah, classic. And that, obviously, online especially, gets people fired up.
For sure. But, I mean, there's got to be more to it. Why would people be more outraged at Very Dark Man than Don Jazzy, even if they both got these donations?
It's not just about the act itself, right? It's about the players, the whole power dynamic.
Mhm.
Don Jazzy's in this untouchable position. Like, he can do no wrong.
So even people disagree, they're not going to call him out.
Pretty much. Very Dark Man, not so much.
So there's a double standard.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
And this speaks to the whole call-out culture thing, especially online. It's so easy to point fingers, but it's not always a level playing field.
What about the ethics of it? Like, is it ever okay to accept something from someone you just totally disagree with? Let's say you're a Very Dark Man and you think Don Jazzy was wrong to make that first donation. Do you have to return the money to seem credible? To stick to your principles? It's a tough one, and I'm curious what our listeners think. Have you ever been in that spot where you have to weigh your values against a potential benefit? It's a tightrope walk, and it gets even trickier when you factor in public opinion. Yeah, it's a real head scratcher. But here's where this social media post makes a hard left turn. We go from debating donations to, like, a full-on tragedy. The tone totally changes when they start talking about someone called Wonderboy.
It's like even the name itself, Wonderboy, it creates these expectations. And then to have it juxtaposed with the news of his death, it's really jarring.
Yeah, and it's even more heartbreaking when you learn more about him. Like, he wasn't just some random victim. He was a Nollywood actor, and he was targeted, robbed, and killed on his way home from a film set.
That's what gets me. It just highlights the risks of certain professions, you know, the fact that he was out there pursuing his passion, and it led to.
It's awful. And then there's the location, Marigold Flyover Elalewo. The post mentions it over and over, and it's clear this isn't just some random place. What is it about that name?
It's like it becomes a symbol, you know? It represents this larger issue of crime and a lack of safety in the community. By repeating the name, it's like they're trying to say, this keeps happening. Why isn't anyone doing anything about this specific place?
It's definitely a cry for help, especially when you look at some of the direct quotes. Like, there's one that says, government must be aware, insecurities, justice for Wonderboy. They are not messing around.
No, they're not. It's a call to action, plain and simple. And this is where social media becomes so powerful. It gives a voice to the voiceless, allows these local issues to reach a global audience.
It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it? And just when you think the story can't get any wilder, there's another twist. Right when you think, okay, tragedy demands for justice. The Post announces that they caught someone. They arrested a suspect in Wonderboy's murder.
And that's where this whole thing gets, well, messy. It really shows you how complicated justice can be, especially when a community is dealing with so much grief and anger and distrust.
Because it's not a clean arrest, right? The Post gets into the details. There was a beating, maybe a forced confession, and then it goes even further and says they should be killed immediately. Don't give them to the government or police. They should be killed immediately.
Wow. It's intense. You can just feel the raw emotion. You know, it's like they've lost all faith in the system. They feel like they have to choose between taking the law into their own hands or letting these terrible things go unpunished.
It's that classic dilemma, wanting justice but also due process, right? On the one hand, you understand the feeling. This community has been let down so many times. They're tired of being afraid. But at the same time, calling for someone to be killed without a trial, it's scary, and it sets a dangerous precedent.
For sure. And it makes you wonder, how do we even begin to fix these problems? How do we restore trust in these institutions? It's more than just punishing people after the fact. You have to create a system where people feel safe and heard in the first place.
It's a lot to think about. And to top it all off, this whole social media post just ends. It literally says, stay tuned. It's like the digital age in a nutshell. Information overload, constantly changing stories, and never really knowing the full picture.
Right. It reminds us to be careful about what we see online. It's so easy to get caught up in the emotion of a story, to jump to conclusions. But this post, with all its layers and contradictions, it shows how important it is to slow down, be critical, and listen to different perspectives.
It's been quite a deep dive. From the ethics of accepting donations to the tragedy of Wonderboy's death and the calls for vigilante justice, this one social media post took us on a wild ride. It shows that these seemingly small local stories, they can have a much wider impact. And it's on all of us to engage with them thoughtfully, critically, and with empathy.
Oh, I swear. You want justice for Wonderboy?
Yes. Don't worry, we'll get justice for him.
Justice for Wonderboy. That was killed on September 2024, and his lifeless body was found on 1st October 2024.
I know if you say RIP to my guy to the last day, but I know for sure say all of them will come out.
You understand?
Justice for my maniple, I show.
Justice for